Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So here's my 30-gallon planted livebearer community tank. And I just put in a little bit of food. I just fed them some of this cobalt ultra pellet guppy food. Just so that I could draw them all to the front of the tank so we can get a good look at them. And just looking at them all as a whole, they all look pretty healthy. At least I think so. With the exception of that one that looks emaciated. But collectively, they look pretty healthy. I mean, what do you think? Take that one out of the picture, but the rest of them, I think, look healthy. They appear healthy. They the way they're behaving is healthy, just the way they're active. But I do have concerns. It was about 2 weeks ago I submitted a video where I talked about how I had some of my fish die on me in this tank. That video's, I had half a dozen platies die right before, like that day where I made that video. I found 6 of my platies dead, and then in the course of a week I lost over a dozen. So most of them that day before, and then more, I think it was 5 more the next day, and then in the next few days after that, a couple more here and there. But since then, about a week later, only one has died. A couple days ago, I found one little juvenile dead platy, but other than that, no more. The weird thing is, it was only platies. And even weirder than that, let's look at all these platies. See if you find anything unusual. If you notice anything. I'm going to scan across the tank and look at all the platies. So have you noticed anything? Well, if you haven't, the weird thing is they're all females. All I can find now left in this tank is one male marigold varieties platy somewhere in here. Is that it? Looking through the camera on my phone, I can't see what. Can't find it, but yeah. All that's left here, all of these platies and varieties platies are females. So that's the weirdest thing. When my fish were dying off, when I was finding dead platies, at the time I didn't notice or didn't think anything of it if they were all males, but some of them could have been females, but the majority of them would have had to have been males, because now there's only one male left in the tank. So I'm trying to figure out what the cause was for all those, to have that many fish die in such a short time. No other fish, no other species, none of the guppies. There's some neon tetras. The Pandagara is still okay. I have 2 Siamese algae eaters. Roseline shark back there. I have 2 female dwarf gouramis. I did lose the male. I had a male dwarf gourami that died maybe a week or 2 before I started getting losses with the platies, so I think that was unrelated. And there's autosynclus. No issues with those. I mean, by comparison, platies are a lot more hardy fish than autosynclus or some of the other fish I have in here, other fish other than livebearers. But yeah, so I don't know what that is. Is there maybe a fish ailment that affects that could only affect male platies in a situation like this? I don't know. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just all the possibilities. It's all speculation. I was thinking maybe it could be old tank syndrome, because this tank is over 2 years now. And what that actually is, I wasn't even sure. I remember after I submitted that video, then I went up and looked up an older Aquarium co-op video where he does a demonstration using peanut M&Ms as an analogy. But based on the frequency that I was doing water changes, it kind of ruled that possibility out. And then I'm thinking maybe could have been Columnaris. That's something that could wipe out an entire tank. Or, I would think if that was the case, it would be other species. And here we are 2 weeks later. The remaining fish appear to be fine, but there are a few things I'm not sure about. Like this one right here. Like some of the scales on the top of it. It's not like a fungus, it's just maybe, if you can kind of notice that. Maybe bruises or something. And let me see if I can find. There's another one one of the redwag platies, that's not it. That sort of has like a discoloration. But from what I've looked up about Columnaris, is this it? This one. I'm not sure which. But anyway, just looking at all these fish, they don't seem, with the exception of maybe that one and maybe a couple. I think this is the one that has the, yeah, you can see it's like a darker spot, but it doesn't appear to be a wound or anything. I don't know if that's just if it was just a natural coloring where it wasn't some spots that weren't as red or what. But yeah. But from what I looked up, there's 4 different types of Columnaris, one of which doesn't show any external symptoms, so you can just suddenly have unexpected die-off. So that's a possibility. And I'm not sure. And then there could still be some type of internal parasites. There is this one like that, but before I had all of those fish die, they weren't like this. What I did notice leading up to that where some of them were kind of like their fins were clamped, like they were shaking, and some of them were flashing, where they rubbed their body against, you know, plants or rocks or whatever. But as far as identifying the problem, I don't know what it was. I'm trying to figure out what it could have been. Like I said, it was all speculation. I mentioned a couple things, and then I was thinking maybe it could have been an matter of not getting enough oxygen, because with all these plants at the top, they're covering like most of the surface. So without surface agitation, where there's like a gas exchange where oxygen can come in from the surface into the tank, that could have affected things. Where so from the hang on the back filter right here, like pushing the water there, there's should be enough gas exchange there, and I have the sponge filter over here in the back corner. I even have, you can see the bubbles coming up here. There's like a wand under there. However, I have had to change the clean the intake sponge more frequently lately. And right now, I just did water since the last water change. It's, you know, it's pushing the water's flowing pretty good, so no effect there. But there have been times where it's been down to a trickle, where I used to maybe clean the intake sponge every month or so, or even longer. I've now had to do it every couple weeks. And, you know, so I thought that might be a reason, and I thought it might be could be a gas issue where gases can build up in the substrate. That's what I thought old tank syndrome might be. So that could still be a possibility, but, you know, I don't know. And, you know, of course, one of the first things to do is to test the water to make sure everything's okay. And, you know, there's 0 ammonia, 0 nitrites, so no problem there. No big changes in pH. I have seen others, like other videos where people have had some, you know, fish die off where their city water changed, where, you know, whatever chemicals might have been in it. So, I mean, that I thought maybe that could be a possibility, but I mean, I use the same water to change this tank as all my other tanks, and I haven't had issues in any others, so that pretty much rules that out. And it could be nitrates could be an issue. So some of the changes I'm going to make is maybe even do more water changes than I already have. So I've never been one to be paranoid and concerned to have nitrates as close to 0. I pretty much always went, you know, by the API master test kit, where you can see the noticeable difference is 40 and above and 40 under parts per million nitrates. That's a noticeable difference between orange readings and red readings. But so if I was, you know, I always tried to aim for around 40 or to get under 40, but maybe I should aim lower than that if that is the reason. And same thing, you know, here's actually, because it's noticeable, you can notice, I mean, when you have between 40 and 80, I mean, that pretty much looks the same. Even between 10 and 20, that looks the same. How do you really know? But you can pretty much tell the difference if it's over 40 and under 40. So, you know, that's kind of what I use for a guide. But I mean, maybe I should aim a little bit lower, because that, I suppose it can affect fish long term, and this is, you know, a tank that I've had up and running for over 2 years, where, you know, some of the older fish, if they were exposed to nitrates around 40 over a longer period, maybe that would affect them. So that could be why. And then, you know, I don't even really use the liquid test kits anymore, but looking at this is the strips. So, I mean, you can notice 40 and above is noticeable compared to the next, which is 80. So I know there have been times when if I did my water change a little late, it would be noticeably above 40, so it might be like, might reach as high as 50 or 60 before water changes. Then, you know, doing water changes would bring it under, but not beyond, you know, darker than the 80, which might be a little more powerful. But then, why only platies? And why only male platies? So I don't really know. But without knowing, it's hard to know what the fix is, of course. But just to be on the safe side, I am going to try some medications. So in my last video, I did a unboxing where I showed a bunch of stuff that I got, and one of them was this Maracyn, which is another version of APIs. API has erythromycin, that's what I have used up to this point, but now I'm going to try this. So the first thing I'm going to do is try this, because in case it is Columnaris, for the treatment and control of body fungus Columnaris, fin and tail rot, popeye and gill disease in freshwater, tetras, cichlids, livebearers, catfish and goldfish, saltwater. But yeah, you know, I don't notice any body fungus, fin and tail rot, popeye, gill disease. If it's another form like internally, that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to, like, I have used these as quarantine medications. Like, all the fish in here have been treated with erythromycin and general cure and Icax, but, you know, with the exception of the fish that were born in here. So now, you know, a lot of these fish are the next generation anyway. But like the first few times of quarantine, I did like what was actual like full dosage, but then upon doing quarantine on later fish added, I did basically the method that Aquarium Co-op uses, where it's just the single treatment, which isn't essentially a full treatment, like the first dose, just as more of a, for precautionary purposes. And of course, you know, I have them in a separate tank for a longer period and like observing them, and they've always seemed okay. But with this, I am, because, you know, after that, losing that many fish, and I want to try to not let that happen anymore, I'm going to add the contents of 1 packet per 10 gallons of water and repeat every 24 hours for 5 days. Repeat the 5-day treatment only once if needed. So basically I'm going to do that for 5 days, and then repeat this 5-day treatment only once. Treat for 5 days, even if visible signs disappear. Maybe used concurrently with all those other things. Yeah, and here, no water changes. No water changes, pH or temperature adjustments necessary if readings are in the ideal range. Temperature, pH 6.4 to 7.6. The only one thing is, my pH is about 7.8, 7.9. Out of the tap, it's almost 8. It's like 7.9. So it, you know, might be around 7.7, 7.8, 7.9. And instead of doing, this is a 30-gallon tank, but with all the plants and hardscape and everything, I'm going to, my plan is to do a little bit less. So essentially 1 packet per 10 gallons, so each treatment would be like 3 packets. But I'm going to do 3, then every 24 hours, then 2, then 3, then 2, then 3. So essentially a little bit less to kind of, that I think would balance out to be based on how much water after, what is in the tank aside from water. So I'm going to go through that after 5 days, and I'm going to do a water change tonight, and then I'll start this treatment tomorrow. So I'll probably do about 40% water change, and then go through 5 days of this before I do another water change. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And then with general cure, I'm going to go through the full dose of this. So for each 10 gallons of water, empty 1 packet directly in the aquarium. Repeat dose after 48 hours. Wait another 40 hours and change the water. So essentially it will be 2 doses of this, where when I would have them in quarantine, I'd do 1. And then I got some Furan 2, which was recommended based on some of the feedback on that video and some other videos I looked up. So I'm going to try, after I do these, I'm not going to do them together either. I'm going to do those 5 days of this, then I'll begin this, and then after that I may begin this. So this treats bacterial fish disease. One thing that I'm concerned about here is that this can inhibit the biological filter, so the beneficial bacteria that converts ammonia to nitrites to nitrites to nitrates. After doing that, you may have to do a lot more water changes and more monitor the tank to make sure that don't have any ammonia or nitrite spikes, which could hurt them worse than what I'm trying to treat, perhaps. I also heard that this can actually affect plants, so I'm concerned about that. But right now I'm going to focus on these 2 and then assess the situation before moving on to this. But yeah, so hopefully that will, once that is all done, then I will have healthy fish. I mean, they do appear healthy, but I can at least, if they're not, get them healthy, or at least maintain good health and alleviate, my concerns. All right. Well, that's it for now. And remember, I'm Jeff, and I enjoy fishies. Thanks for watching.